Hi, everyone. I'm John Williams.
And I'm Rory Williams. We're here drinking a couple of older wines, the 1998 Merlot and the 1998 Cabernet.
20 years doesn't seem that old.
Not that old. It was.
Yeah. I mean, you were 14 when these were made, so maybe it's a little different for you.
That does feel like a lifetime ago. I'm not gonna lie.
The greatest pleasure in wine is being able to enjoy a wine, having remembered it really through your whole life, remembering this vintage, and having seen it develop over this period of time. And yet when you taste it, it's almost a time capsule. It brings you back in time.
I'm not so sure I want to go back to middle school myself, but you're right, Dad. I think that, when we talk about, what's the point of winemaking? What do we love about making wine? It's ability to capture that sense of time and place. And so tell me a little bit about what you remember about the 98 vintage.
Well, shit, what a time. That was the year we bought the Gallerin vineyard, which, now you're having to do a lot of replanting in Gallerin, so it just shows you the time. And I think it really is almost time travel. Whenever I drink an older wine, I always like to, look up the history of what was going on in the world at that time, because they're liquid time capsules in a way. I think it's important to remember, and I'm smelling the Cabernet, and we just had poured this a little earlier, and it was a closed in, and I was a little funky. These wines have been in a bottle for 20 years, like a genie in the bottle for 20 years. They need a little time to open up.
It's instructive, Dad, because we think about these being 20 years old now, a little over 20 years old now, and they should be ready to go right out of the bottle, right? Well, they evolve in the glass, and what are we getting out of the Merlot right now? I mean, this is to me, Dad, this is darker fruited than I was expecting out of such an older Merlot.
It's a classic vintage, and you can tell the influence of the Truchard vineyard in this with a little bit more black fruit. We're now more Rutherford in our Merlots, which is definitely a more red sort of style Merlot. But God, this wine is so classic, so structured, so perfect. And you're right, it's not a Merlot in typicity like a red fruit Merlot. It's got a distinct terroir of Carneros in this wine.
I'm getting in a little bit of a minty character as well. It's very subtle, but I'm thinking of those big eucalyptus groves that are near this block of Merlot down in Carneros. So I can almost picture those groves adding to the wine, even now all these years later.
And a nice element to the wine. To me, this wine is developing so beautifully. For a lot of people, 20 years would be kind of the lifespan. Even a lot of Bordeaux wines, 20 years is what you would consider to be a lot. I think this wine's got 20 more.
And it absolutely does. And it's interesting that you were dead on about the Cabernet. When we first poured it, needed a little bit of air, and we were going, hey, what's going on with this wine? And now this is opening up beautifully.
These are the aromas you're looking for in a 20-year-old Cabernet Sauvignon. So here it's fantastic.
Dad, you're getting some of that soy sauce, some of the black tea, those kind of cedar boxwood aromas that are just really characteristic of some of these older Bordeaux reds.
Yeah. Now you have culinary talents amongst your other talents. Tell me what you're doing with this.
What kind of food I'm eating with this? I think both of these, in both cases, you're talking about a fairly subtle dish, something that's really going to feature the wine at the core of the meal. But with the Merlot, I'd be tempted to include a little bit of darker spices in there or something like that.
Yeah, you could do more with it. To me, the Cabernet is so pure that you're really just talking about a simple rack of lamb or something like that, and not a lot. Maybe a little bit of the jus. But keeping the meal simple to just profile these, but that Merlot's got a lot more stuffing. How fun to try them. Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, 20 years old side by side. How fun.
Absolutely delicious. Hope you guys enjoy.